Right, let me make this very clear. This is not clickbait.
Are you sure about that?
It's something that both myself and a few of my viewers have wanted me to talk about for a very long time, and because it isn't about Sukuna, Yuji or Gojo, I'm certain this video will barely reach 10k views, but guess what? I couldn't give a crap because Kusakabe is in my top 5 JJK characters and he deserves all of the glaze in the world. Now this video is very simple. I'm gonna use my self-proclaimed 50k IQ to fully explain how broken Kusakabe's abilities are and show why he genuinely wipes half of JJK's special grades. And yes, that includes opponents like the Disaster Curses, Culling Game players, and even some old friends. I really can't wait to start, so screw the intro, let's just get right into it. With the exception of one ridiculously underrated feat in Shibuya, we don't see Kusakabe go all out until chapter 254, where he 1v1s the literal king of curses. As you all know, Kusakabe is a grade 1 sorcerer with no curse technique in sight, yet sorcerers like Meimei, Nanami, and even Gojo himself consider him the strongest grade 1 sorcerer. He is the undisputed master of Simple Domain, and I think he is the only character who actually makes Simple Domain look useful. It's normally explained as a way to buy time against a domain expansion, but in Kusakabe's case, he actually uses it as a way to outright win against a domain expansion. Unlike most other sorcerers, Kusakabe requires no binding vows to make a Simple Domain, meaning that he can move around freely in his fight. His range is also huge, meaning he can easily engulf his opponent in the domain. Now, the discussion of whether Simple Domain neutralizes curse techniques is incredibly iffy, but for now, we're gonna take Kusakabe's word for it that it cannot neutralize them. I mean, Kenjaku and Mekamaru definitely disagree, but maybe more on that later, because it's really long and just kind of, I can't be bothered. Not being able to neutralize curse techniques doesn't mean shit to the GOAT though, because he can incorporate his own programming into his Simple Domain, allowing him to automatically parry incoming attacks. And when it says automatically, it literally means automatic. He can fully detect and parry multiple invisible dismantles flawlessly just by detecting Sukuna's cursed energy spark. Even when Sukuna was standing completely still, Kusakabe blocked all of the dismantles. And what I find even more impressive is that Kusakabe perception blitzed Miwa to fully parry Kenjaku's Mahito Uzumaki. Now sure, his Simple Domain nerfs incoming attacks output and buffs his own, but neutralizing a special grade Uzumaki from Kenjaku with no damage taken is a crazy feat regardless. Basically, Kusakabe's defensive capabilities are strong enough to impress both Sukuna and Kenjaku. Being acknowledged by 3 out of 5 of the top 5 sorcerers in the verse cannot be overlooked. A commonly overlooked advantage of Kusakabe's kit is that both his defensive and offensive capabilities are a result of Simple Domain. He just has to expand that shit and then he's got access to literally everything he needs for a fight. In terms of his offensive kit, not only is he insanely fast, but he also hits like a truck. His slashes were strong enough to put a load of decently deep cuts into a Heian form Black Flash Amp Sukuna. And let's also not forget that a single kick sent Sukuna crashing through a literal bridge. I mean, think back to that time that they came face to face in Shibuya. Who would have thought that this man would one day boot Sukuna across a whole ass town? I mean, sure, Sukuna was definitely playing with his food and he could have ended it at any time. However, I do believe the damage was very real. It's not like Sukuna had dropped his normal reinforcement because he knew he was getting jumped and he needed to keep his guard up, especially after falling for Maki's ambush after being in Yuta and Yuji's domain. Wait, just Yuta's domain. No, I don't think it's Yuji's domain. Don't come after me in the comments. It was Yuta's domain. Yuji was just there. Now relax. Now that we've determined how his abilities actually work, let's put him up against some special grades, starting with the OG Disaster Curse Fodder Squad. Simply put, if Kusakabe was in that Shibuya fight against Dagon, then it would have ended before Toji even arrived. A 7-3 hit from Nanami did nothing to Dagon, and Ino's 7-3 hit did nothing to Heian Era Sukuna. Kusakabe, however, sliced Heian Era Sukuna up and then launched him across a town. I think we can all agree that Sukuna's durability is way above Dagon's, so best believe Kusakabe is slicing off Dagon's limbs and maybe even Dagon's head. Dagon has literally no hand-to-hand feats and wasn't all that fast, so Kusakabe would borderline speed blitz and do enough damage to make Dagon's domain fail before lobbing his head off. And I'll be honest, he's doing the exact same thing to Hanami. They both are high diff fights, but Kusakabe does win. Now Mahito is a surprisingly simple fight, but at the same time it's really complicated. If Kusakabe pulled up on the newborn Mahito that Nanami fought in the sewers, then he gets exercised there and then mid-diff. But the reason I say it's complicated is because Simple Domain doesn't neutralize techniques, but for whatever reason, Simple Domain does allow you to actually hurt Mahito. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but it is an undeniable fact because we did see Kokichi Muta do it. I mean, Kenjaku literally says in that chapter that domains do neutralize curse techniques, and I will tell you right now, that was a lie. There are so many instances where domains don't neutralize techniques, and it also implied in that chapter that a simple domain should neutralize a technique. And then it does, against Mahito. But then later on, Kusakabe outright states that simple domains can't neutralize techniques, so I don't really know where we go from here. It might require a separate video. Point is, Mahito can be hurt by simple domain because we've seen it happen. Deal with it. So yeah, any version of Mahito that isn't a Black Flashed Amped Awakened Mahito is probably gonna get cooked by Kusakabe, I'm not gonna lie. And it does go without saying that an instant distorted freak, you know, the instant killing of distorted body of fucking Nando's is whatever, man. The really like big strong Mahito at the end of the fight, you know who I mean. Yeah, he would slam Kusakabe, no doubt. Kusakabe's doing nothing. But pre-Shibuya Mahito, yeah, deleted. Now Jogo is actually probably the closest fight out of all the disaster curses, and I'm not even sure that Kusakabe could win. Since Jogo's fire blasts are range and not solid, then I'm not confident Kusakabe can actually block them, because there's nothing to really parry. Plus Jogo is definitely faster than Kusakabe, even if it's only by a bit. The only thing going for Kusakabe is Jogo's ego against sorcerers he thinks are weaker than him, and also how squishy he is. I mean, this is what I think would happen to Jogo if Kusakabe gets in close. Hanami literally said that Jogo would be dead if he took 4 Black Flashes from Season 1 Yuji. That means he is squishy as hell. And for this reason, Kusakabe definitely can exercise Jogo, but due to the speed and output, Jogo probably wins. But he only wins if he ends it fast and doesn't let Kusakabe close the distance. Either way, Kusakabe does infinitely better than pretty much all other grade 1 sorcerers against the disaster curses. And no, that doesn't include Todo, because my goat is now a special grade. What? Now this one will definitely strike a nerve with some people, but if Kusakabe confronted Choso in Shibuya, then Choso would never be seen again. After watching him automatically parry close-range invisible dismantles, I am certain he would obliterate Piercing Blood. He would split that shit in half like Deadpool does to bullets, and that is just a fact. Kusakabe is also much faster and much stronger than Shibuya Choso, even when he's using Flowing Red Scale, so hand-to-hand wise, Kusakabe slams. Blood Meteor, Slicing Exorcism, and Supernova are also not getting close to Kusakabe because he's simply gonna cut them down automatically. Honestly, this is a very low to mid-diff fight for Kusakabe, and I say Shibuya Choso to sort of lighten the blow, but I'll be real, I think Kusakabe slams any version of Choso, with the exception maybe being the Three Brothers Powers Choso that we see against Kenjaku, but I still don't know, to be honest. Okay, don't get me wrong, I love the Culling Games exactly as it is, especially Sendai Colony. However, I do think it could have been longer and shown more characters participating. For example, Kusakabe, Ino, and Inamaki are all characters I would love to have seen go and fight sorcerers slightly above their level in order to show how they develop and get stronger. In terms of who I think Kusakabe could beat in the Culling Games though, I'm sure this will piss a lot of people off. First off, the entirety of Reggie's gang get deleted from existence, including Reggie himself, and I think Kusakabe could honestly take them all at once. The only one I think would cause some trouble for Kusakabe is Hazanoki, because his insane RCT is, well, insane. But I do think Kusakabe would eventually wear him down and then just take his head off. Higuruma would also get deleted, because not only does Kusakabe have no technique to confiscate, but there's also no way that the kindest sorcerer has ever done something worthy of the death penalty. Now the take I'm gonna get absolutely cooked for though is that I think Kusakabe would low-key cook in Sendai Colony. Druv's weird Shikigami domain technique should be easily countered by Kusakabe's not-so-simple domain, and when it comes to Druv himself, he is just an old bag with no hands. He won't even need to take out the orbiting Shikigami themselves, he just needs to walk on in there with his complex domain active and then take Grandad Druv's head clean off. Now, I'm not gonna lie, Kurobushi and Ryo would probably be much harder fights and Kusakabe would end up getting slammed. However, I do honestly think that he might have a decent chance against Uro. It really all does depend on how Simple Domain works and whether it will allow him to land strikes on her. If Kenjaku is correct and a Simple Domain does neutralize curse techniques like it did against Mahito, then I think Kusakabe would absolutely slam Uro. However, if that's not the case and Kusakabe is right about Simple Domain not being able to neutralize techniques, then Kusakabe will never be able to hit her. She'll just bend all of his attacks away and then probably slam him with a domain expansion. Hell, maybe not even that. Maybe a thin icebreaker would be enough to finish him off. You have to admit though, she does seem pretty squishy against the rest of the Sendai Colony players, and she only really has one special attack and a domain to do damage. If Kusakabe can neutralize the technique, or at least weaken it, then there's a good chance he manages to make contact, and yeah, it's kinda done. Also, Kusakabe can attack so fast in a simple domain that I think Uro won't be able to keep up and individually block all of the blows. So I think he has a chance. I'm not gonna lie, I think he can do it. Realistically, he would probably lose because she's got way more experience and is just stronger, but yeah, he can. Shut up! I also am of the opinion that Kusakabe is outright the strongest grade 1 sorcerer. Mei claims that she's physically stronger, but I think she needs to drop the ego and accept that even Bird Strike is gonna get auto-parried by his complex domain. Even Naobito and base Naoya are losing to Kusakabe because of his automatic attacks, especially if Naoya is losing to Shibuya Choso, which was honestly embarrassing from him. I also think Kusakabe would be a mid-diff fight for Geto. JJK 0 Geto would win only with a few strong curses needed, but Teen Geto might genuinely struggle in that fight if he lets Kusakabe get close. Hand-to-hand wise, Kusakabe probably hits harder, and Geto has no RCT or a domain that we are aware of. Plus, the Uzumaki feat definitely helps Kusakabe a lot in this case. Geto would almost definitely still win though. It is important to note though that strength is not what Kusakabe is all about. He is crazy smart, he has good survival instinct, and knows a lot of jujutsu secrets that he probably shouldn't. His overall impact on the current fight is also way bigger than you realize, despite not really damaging Sukuna all that much. First off, he did the soul swap training with Yuji, which not only improved Yuji's cursed energy control, but also taught him simple domain. I also think it's very likely that he taught this to Ino, since those two seem to have a very good student-teacher relationship, similar to Ino and Nanami's. Let's not forget though that while Kusakabe 1v1 Sukuna, both Maki and Yuji were down recovering from their injuries. If it wasn't for Kusakabe keeping him busy, Sukuna would likely have gone to finish them off. Now I know this video won't be to many people's taste, but it's something I've really wanted to talk about for a while because Kusakabe is genuinely in my top 5 favorites. Even before seeing how strong he really was, I have loved him so much because he reminds me of the 10th Doctor from Doctor Who. His outfit, kindness, big brain, and lack of a technique just remind me so much of the Doctor. Hell, he even reminds you guys of the Doctor without you guys even knowing it, because loads of you think my profile picture is Kusakabe when it's actually the Doctor. Anyway, I promise I'll be dropping some absolute banger videos very soon, so don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more and enjoy this video. Feel free to join the Discord and follow me on Twitter, links below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you in a bit.